Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Most of us know DeVonta Smith as the guy who made the catch in the 2017 National Championship game, but he is more than just that. Smith was an underdog as a kid, but he worked hard and became a big-time player coming out of high school, but in a crowded group of wide receivers at Alabama, he is still overlooked. Today we'll talk about the journey of DeVonta Smith, his time at Alabama so far, and why many think he could be an absolute star at the next level. But first, I want to thank you guys for 10,000 subscribers. I never thought I'd get to this point, and the journey has just begun for this channel. So if you want to be part of the next step and you're new, be sure to click that subscribe button if you love college football, and also turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload of mine. Be sure to like, comment, share, and stay until the end, as this will help the video get in the algorithm, which will help my channel do better, and I can continue to upload more and potentially double upload like I've been doing lately. Be sure to let me know who I should do next down in the comment section as well, and let's get started with the rise of DeVonta Smith. At one point I was honestly very confused making this video because there's actually another DeVonta Smith who was committed to Alabama in this year's recruiting class, but I did get it all sorted out. This DeVonta grew up in Ammonite, Louisiana, a town with a mix of trailers, depleted houses, abandoned shacks, and modest homes, so not the nicest place in the world. And we gotta start off with a guy who has cut his hair ever since he's a little boy. The relationship between DeVonta and the 47-year-old hairstylist runs deeper than a client and a barber. This is where the DeVonta Smith story begins and how he would get to Alabama. This barbershop is also more than just a barbershop. It's a place where young, underprivileged athletes come to enhance their recruitment, and the guy there has tons of connections and he helps them out. He'll bring them to camps, expose their talents to big-name coaches, and he also mentors them. Plus, he gets to hang all their memorabilia in the shop. He says that 22 of his 28 kids have received Division I athletic scholarships, and he has shown a bright light on the area that college coaches used to drive through en route to New Orleans or Baton Rouge. He uses his barbershop money to pay for the kids, but they have to have above a 3.0 GPA if they want his help. So getting back to DeVonta's story, before playing cornerback, receiver, and kick and punt returner at Ammonite High School, he built his reputation as the scrawny little kid who would never go away. No matter how much bigger everyone else was, the little guy would always come back to the basketball court, hop the fence, and take on his opponents. They always said he was too little, too small, and he was only 120 pounds as a high school freshman. But he was a football player. He went to an Alabama camp eventually, and despite putting on a catching performance that had the camp buzzing, the coaches told Smith that at 140 pounds, he was not big enough, and he got super mad. Like, really mad. He would get bigger and better, and eventually Alabama would offer, and DeVonta committed to the Crimson Tide. He chose the Tide over LSU and Miami, and the Tigers faithful weren't too happy with the barber, because they thought they had steered him away from LSU. Smith is a very exciting talent, as he was listed at 6'1", which gives him decent size for an outside receiver, but he's fast enough to play anywhere on the field, has long arms that make him play bigger than his height, and people said he'd be a matchup problem for years, and they were right. 24/7 Sports listed Smith as the second best player in the state of Louisiana, number 9 wide receiver, and the 62nd overall player in the class of 2017. His decision to leave the state for an SEC West rival ruffled the feathers of a lot of the locals, but his family, as you could probably expect, were all in on the Crimson Tide, even if most of them had spent their entire life rooting for LSU. Everyone knows that Alabama is the most prestigious offer in college football, and everybody knew Smith had the potential to be good, but he joined a class of wideouts which included Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. Those are some pretty big time names, and we have to credit Billy Napier for that. He's currently one of the brightest young coaches in college football, and he's at Louisiana, but he was the Alabama wide receivers coach at the time, and he recruited all 3 of those guys. Going into the 2017 season, Smith would catch his first touchdown in a 59-0 win over Vanderbilt, and he really wasn't much of a difference maker for them throughout the season. That was until the Mississippi State game. He would end up catching the game-winning touchdown from Jalen Hurts, and that was the first play that put him on the map. The Tide would cruise all the way to the national title game against Georgia, where they found themselves in a 2nd and 26 hole and had a freshman quarterback Tua Tagovailoa behind center. As we all know, Smith would catch the game-winning pass, and the game was over. The catch won Alabama a national championship, and this was a huge moment for DeVonta Smith. If you go back home to Ammonite, people probably would not have been too happy, because they're all LSU fans, but DeVonta Smith was one of them, and the place really had an emotional attachment to him, and they were super happy. In fact, the town actually held a parade for him and his teammate Cheyenne Carter, an Alabama quarterback from a town down the street, and they rode the 2 players in the backseat of a convertible down the street, celebrating the championship for the Crimson Tide, all because of that one catch. When you ask Smith about the catch, he says, "Before the play, I figured we'd have to take a shot deep. I told Tua to trust me, and he did. He trusted what I was doing, believed in me, and threw the ball, and we made a play." As a freshman, Smith did not put out eye-catching numbers, but he caught 8 passes for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns, and 2 of those touchdowns were arguably the 2 biggest plays of the season. He had lived up to the hype for his freshman year and had set the bar pretty high for the rest of his career. In 2018, he was expected to step up, and he definitely did to a degree. He would catch touchdowns versus Arkansas State and Texas A&M before he would record his first 100-plus yard receiving game against Missouri. He had another big game in their Iron Bowl win, and with 2 at the helm, the Tide were headed back to the SEC Championship. As we all know, Jalen Hurts fueled the late comeback in that game and beat Georgia again. He had a career-high 6 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown in their win over Oklahoma in the first round of the playoff, and then 6 catches for 65 yards in the national title game. Unfortunately for Alabama, Clemson freshman quarterback Trevor Lawrence absolutely destroyed them, and this was very embarrassing for Alabama. As a sophomore, he had a pretty solid year, as he caught 42 passes for 693 yards and 6 touchdowns. Going into 2019, he was definitely seen as an NFL prospect, but he was also overshadowed. And I mean, of course he was. He was playing alongside first-round pick Jerry Jeudy, one of the fastest players in all of college football in Henry Ruggs, and a human highlight reel in Jalen Waddle. So it really wasn't that difficult for him to get overlooked, but he would make his impact. He had a breakout game against South Carolina where he'd catch 8 passes for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he was starting to become a serious threat. 2 weeks later, he had one of the best performances in college football history as he caught 11 passes for 274 yards and 5 touchdowns, and this was one of the best performances I've ever seen. A few weeks later, in a pivotal matchup against number 2 LSU, he would catch 7 passes for 213 yards and 2 touchdowns, one of which was that late 90-plus yard catch to keep the game close. But Burrow and LSU were on another level this year, and Bama lost to them, and then they lost Tua for the year against Mississippi State to injury. DeVonta would definitely finish the season strong, but Bama lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and a 3rd straight title appearance just wasn't in the cards for them. He would catch a touchdown in their Citrus Bowl win over Michigan, and DeVonta Smith had become a member of the All-SEC first team after his breakout year. He caught 68 passes for 1,256 yards and 14 touchdowns, and he became an absolute star. He could have left for the NFL after his junior year, but he decided to come back for his senior year. Going into 2020, Mac Jones was the quarterback, Najee Harris was the running back, and they had Jalen Waddle at wide receiver. But besides Waddle and Smith, the Bama was very unproven at wide receiver. We've now seen John Mechie break out, but before then we had no idea. He would catch 8 passes for 89 yards in their Week 1 game against Missouri, and then 6 more passes for 63 yards against A&M. Those were solid numbers, but not the ones people were expecting. Finally, he would have another field day against Ole Miss as he caught 13 passes for 164 yards and a touchdown. I'm sorry, Ole Miss, I guess you guys just can't defend him. Followed it up on the brightest stage against number 3 Georgia with 11 catches for 167 yards and 2 more touchdowns, and Alabama is absolutely surging right now. So far, he looks like the next Alabama wide receiver to make it to the NFL, and many project both him and Jalen Waddle to be first-round picks this spring, and there is good reason for Smith to go high. Here's a list of what he's done in Alabama so far. He's caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime in the national title game as a true freshman. He led Bama in catches in 2 of the 2018 playoff games. He led a team with Ruggs, Jeudy, and Waddle in receiving yards and touchdowns last year, and so far in 2020, he leads the team in catches, receiving yards, and is tied for touchdown receptions. I didn't know a whole lot about DeVonta Smith, as I'll admit that he did get overshadowed, but I've always liked the dude and I'm happy he's doing well for Alabama. His connection with the barber is cool, and he has definitely gone under the radar to most college football fans. I'm super pumped to watch him and Alabama football for the rest of the year, and I honestly wonder what team he'll get drafted to. What do you guys think of DeVonta Smith? Will he be a star, or is it just the Alabama effect? Be sure to let me know that, and who I should do next down in the comment section. Every time you guys like, share, and comment, it helps the video do better. It helps the video get in the algorithm, which helps my channel do better, and I can make more videos for you guys, so please take a moment to do that, and I really appreciate that. If you're new and love college football, be sure to subscribe, and if you're returning, turn on post notifications so you never miss another upload of mine. Thank you guys again for 10,000 subscribers, and while you're still here, check out all my other videos about the rise of 2020 college football stars. But until next time, peace and roll tide.